Sangeetha. I am a YouTuber and a dancer. I'm the award winner of Pride of Namu Chennai, and I'm also a public orator and a soft skill trainer. I also have Shreya with me, who is a PBI professional. She is my mentee. She's one of the budding anchors of PBI. Over to Shreya.
Namaste everyone. Namaste all.
Namaste.
Namaste, Shreya.
Before we start the interview, I would like to give a small brief about the book Beyond Labels, an academic guide for special educators, was co-authored by parents and teachers. With the guidance of PVI, making it a collective effort, Dr. Gayatri Narasimhan, when writing her first book, INVAS, recognized the need for expansion. Feedback from special schools indicated that INVAS was used to shape their curriculum, but if required, expert textbooks. Driven by this, Dr. Gayatri aimed to create a unique and pioneering resource for special education that is set to launch in the year 2025. So, today we have Dr. Shobha Ramesh, who is a consultant child psychiatrist, Joint Medical Director of Spastic Society of Karnataka, Bangalore. She is not only a parent of neurodivergent young adults, also works clinically with children and adults with special needs and their families, attending to their emotional and behavioral challenges. So, welcome, Shobha ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. So, ma'am, my first question for the day. Personality development is a broad concept. What are the key areas you focused on while working on this chapter, especially for neurodivergent individuals?
The personality is a very broad concept. It includes the social development um, and the emotional development of adults, of all adults really, not just neurodivergent. It is also very unique in that every individual develops his own personality. So it's not just a broad concept, it's also very unique. And when it comes to individuals with who are neurodivergent, the challenges are actually twofold. They not only have their core issues to deal with, but on top of that, when they're developing their personality, their emotional and social life, it becomes again a huge challenge for them. Which is very often I feel as a clinician also that it's not given that much of an importance as much as the cognitive or the physical development of the child. So here, that's why I felt that the emotional and the social aspects, like Dr. Gayatri also felt, should be a part of the curriculum and included in a widespread manner across all age groups, um, while addressing the general curriculum or what is called the IEP or the individualized educational plan for every individual, which should also include the aspects of personality development.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very insightful. Thank you so much. And the second question, over on to Shreya.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, as a parent, you have closely observed how neurodivergent individuals develop their personalities over time. So, what challenges have you seen, and how does your chapter address them?
Thank you, Shreya. That was a wonderful question. So let me address some of the myths associated with personality development first. I think traditionally we've always viewed people with special needs as being shadows of their adult caregivers. It's only very recently that we have started recognizing that they have their own personalities and they need to express themselves emotionally, and also in the social setup. So, with that context, we see that it is also a challenge for them to express themselves emotionally because of their various deficits which they face. And so we've also seen that they have the same needs emotionally as anybody else, emotionally and socially. They want to be validated, they want to be acknowledged, and they want to have a say in their own lives and take mastery over their lives. So I think personality development generally should address these issues, though normally we see that these issues are not being addressed that commonly. So some of the challenges which hinders this kind of inclusion and inclusive growth or personality development for these individuals could be medical. They could have deficits which could interfere with adequate socializing or emotional expression. For example, they might have challenges interacting in a group. They might have medical issues or sensory deficits like hearing impairment or other physical challenges. Also, there are cultural and social barriers, like acceptance in the family, in the community, society at large. So it's not just the individual's deficits alone, it is also the environment around the individual which shapes his personality to a large extent. And I think we need to sensitize ourselves to these issues and incorporate appropriate learning strategies for these young adults and children so that they're integrated into the mainstream society, and we also empower them with adequate social skills and emotional regulation skills to achieve their complete potential. And in this chapter, we try to focus we try to break it down developmentally. For example, like we follow this template throughout the book where we divide them into developmental categories like, early childhood, basic skill, intermediate skill, and advanced skill according to their ages. And I think it's a very good template to have because we identify their readiness at each level. For example, at early childhood level, we observe for their emotional recognition, emotional labeling, and in the middle child, we go on to see how they regulate themselves emotionally. And later on comes confidence building and interaction in a group and building up the skill set to deal with the social and workplace challenges. So this is the approach we've taken. We can call it a lifespan approach where we start right from 0 years till about 25 years when they are ready to go out into the workforce and as productive and useful contributors to the society. So we follow this developmental approach and see what skill is required at every age and provide appropriate activities for developing these skills, which could be both interpersonal and
That was a truly insightful.
Shreya, you're on mute.
That was a truly insightful response, ma'am. Now I would like to invite Miss Sangeetha ma'am to continue with the next question.
Thank you, Shreya. Social interactions and confidence building are crucial aspects of personality. Did you include any specific strategies or activities that can help neurodivergent individuals feel more comfortable in the social settings?
Yes, here I think there are two parts to it. So I think before developing interpersonal interactions or skills, interaction skills in a social setting, it's very important for the person to have some intrapersonal skills too. And I see both of them as going hand in hand. For example, a child or a young adult with anxiety, they not only need to deal with the social demands, but they also need to handle their anxiety in such situations, such demanding situations. So here we have mentioned some activities not just to improve their social interaction, for example, presentation in small groups, modeling peers, modeling non-verbal behaviors in peers, role play to practice more advanced skills like etiquette and rules. But we also train them to relax, giving. So we are also mentioning some training activities like relaxation, mindfulness, positive self-talk, which will deal with their emotional distress before facing these situations. So I think it's very important, like you've mentioned, social interactions and confidence building should go hand in hand so that they function adequately in the social environment, because the idea of skilling them is to be productive, useful members of the society and have adaptive skills to accommodate to the environment. So I think it's very important to empower them with intrapersonal skills first, and also give them opportunities to deal with various challenges in the social setting in a controlled environment such as this school or home before they actually venture out into the employment scenario. So such activities are definitely mentioned as part of this chapter. And also along with that, we provide some guidance for the educators regarding how to adapt these activities to various requirements of the students. I will call them students irrespective of their age, where we mention some visual aids, other adaptive strategies, and principles of behavior management like positive reinforcement, modeling, prompting, and fading away those prompts. They all feature as part of these exercises. So we are giving the special educators not only the tools in the form of the content or the activity, but we are also mentioning the strategies which should be employed to implement these activities successfully and document them so that we can evaluate the progress. So I think it's a comprehensive way of dealing with it, where we first of all identify the skill to be built up, and then we give an activity associated with that, and also use adaptations and other strategies to monitor the progress.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was really very useful. Thank you so much. So, yes, the next question we move on to Shreya.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ma'am. So, Shobha ma'am, my next question to you is that many people believe that personality traits are fixed. So, in your experience, how much of personality development is learned, and how can caregivers play an active role in shaping it?
That's a wonderful question, Shreya. So here again, there are two parts to it. It is believed that children are born with some innate traits, which we call temperamental traits. Certain measures of their temperament would include activity level, the regularity of their routines, their initial emotional reactions, how well they adapt to the environment, their mood, etc. So these form part of what they are born with, which we call temperament. But very often we see that there are a lot of learned responses also, right? What the child does with his experiences or with his emotions, for example, primary emotions, they could be anger. But how do we mask that anger becomes a learned behavior. So there are both components of it, Shreya. One is where the child is born with a temperamental trait, and top of that, his life experiences and what is taught to him is actually internalized, and both together actually end up forming his personality. So there, I think it is very important, one, to observe what the natural tendencies of the child are in terms of his the things that I mentioned before, and second, to also see that they learn, to give them the template where they learn appropriate coping mechanisms, appropriate strategies to deal with the primary emotions or the negative emotions, so that the emotional regulation or how they deal with their emotions doesn't become another challenge for them in negotiating through their adult life. So that is the whole idea of personality development, where not only they balance their deficits in the form of, say, for instance, fear to some stimulus, or a phobia, which will prevent them from interacting with the world adequately. Second, That would be one part, to deal with the so-called negative or not so desirable traits. Second is to empower them to express their positive traits adequately, so that we have a nice balance and a well-rounded personality development. So, though they are born with certain traits which appear to be fixed, I'm sure that the experiences which society gives them, the kind of relationships they have with their peers, with their adults, with everybody around them, is a major factor in expressing those traits, either positively or negatively. So, in that way, the adults around the children have a very big role to play shaping their personality. So, parents at home and the educators in school need to be very conscious of this and incorporate personality development strategies, so that um, the child grows up to be a well balanced person, whoever it is, and realize their potential. And very often in our practice, we see that however skilled the child may be, if they are lacking in emotional regulation, if they are lacking in interpersonal skills, very often their placement breaks down, or they are unable to cope with the demands of the adult world very successfully. So there, I think it should be, I think the foremost, more than the cognitive skills and the vocational training, they need to deal with their world and the challenges around them. And then the skill will be more meaningful and valuable for them. In the absence of self-expression or dysregulation of the emotion or some social skills problems, no, even though they are highly skilled, the skill might turn out to be not so valuable. So I think the role of the teachers is very, very important in side by side nurturing their emotional side and social skills as well, irrespective of the deficits.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing such valuable insights. Over to you, Miss Sangeeta, ma'am, to proceed with the next question.
Thank you, Shreya. Yes, ma'am. So this is the last question for the day. If there is one message you would like parents or educators to take away from your chapter, what would it be?
See, having worked with different kinds of personality traits and different individuals, the whole complicated, whole array of people in my practice, I feel that we should start off with the point believing in every individual. This is based on what we call humanistic psychology, where it is believed that irrespective of your deficits, irrespective of what you come into the world with, every human being has innate value, right? And they're meaningful contributors to the society. So I think once we start having that kind of attitude for every child who comes to us, then I think it's very empowering. So you go beyond the deficit, you go beyond their diagnosis and look at the individual inside them or the person within, and also, and then you will start listening to the person within, and start attending to their emotional needs, and start teaching them about how to master their situation, self mastery and socializing, so that they reach their full potential. This is a goal for every child, right? I think it should be a part of the IEP, where the child will achieve his potential irrespective of his deficit. So I think once we start off with that, from that place, then we can go beyond the diagnosis and focus on individual experience of the child. I think that is what is involved in personality development. How this particular child is coping with his deficit, say autism or cerebral palsy or hearing impairment. How is this person coping with this so-called disability? We don't like to use that word, but his challenges. And then you embrace, you get him to accept his disabilities and embrace himself, his potential, his unique abilities, and also accept his challenges as part of that process, right? And then from that comes empowerment, right? So once you have self mastery, you can look at the world and say, yes, I can take you on, so that is a kind of attitude we want to give this child, saying that I can do it, I can do it, I can transcend. That's called transcendence, where you go over and beyond your disability or so-called challenges, And then you focus on personal growth. We always hear wonderful stories of what such people can achieve. And where does that come from? It comes from a very balanced emotional state, a very positive emotional state. First you have to transcend your negativity, come to a stabilizing point, and then reach your goals through extreme positivity. So that's what we are trying to inculcate in our students, where the ultimate goal is empowerment, and the next final goal in self actualization or realizing your potential will be actually advocacy, where you advocate for myself and say, I am not my disability, I am beyond that. I can achieve this. And they start advocating for themselves very nicely, and also for the group that they are with, the less able people. So I think that should be the goal for every special educator and parent, to say, okay, my child is beyond the disability, he's beyond autism, he's beyond cerebral palsy. There is somebody sitting inside who's waiting to realize their potential. So I think if, that is the message that I would like to give from through this chapter. And it was a wonderful experience for me personally, having jotted down all these points and, gone through this process of revising and editing and going over it again and again, so that these things which we normally take for granted, it's become a nice consolidated point for me. So I would like to thank Dr. Gayatri ma'am for giving us this opportunity, and most of all to include personality development in a curriculum beyond the challenges, and go into education and personality. So I see education and personality development should go hand in hand. Very often, personality development is missed out completely. We are just focusing on skill building, as in cognitive skills and vocational skills. So without the backup of social skills and emotional regulation, that's all going to fall flat. So I think that is the message I would like to give everyone here. Again, thank you for the wonderful opportunity. And thank you,
Amazing.
Sangeeta and Shreya.
Thank you, ma'am. Amazing. Amazing, ma'am. Actually, we got to learn a lot of new things today. Thank you so much. And we are
Thank
really
you.
very happy to have you on board for this interview. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sangeeta.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Shreya. That was amazing. You did really well.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot.